And our third storyteller tonight, everybody, Lily. Here comes Lily. Let's show her some love.
So I'm driving in Denver, about to cross MLK. And if you know this street, you know it's one of those wide, multiple lanes of traffic going both ways streets that people use to get across town. And I look, and biking along MLK, I'm stopped at a stoplight. There's this guy with biking with a hiking pack on, a big through hiking pack. And I'm wondering how easy it is to bike and balance with a giant hiking pack on your back. And almost as if I had a premonition of what was about to happen, he took a really nasty fall. I saw him hit his shoulder. My friend in the car saw him hit his head. And I think that there's two types of people in this world. There's the type of people who see something like that happen and race toward him and wonder what they can do to help. And there are people who see something like that happen and run as quickly as possible in the opposite direction. And I'm firmly in this camp. And I always have been. I remember my dad was dropping me off at school, and this boy I didn't know slipped and fell in the ice. And he's screaming in pain and looking up at me for help. And I get as quickly as I can into the school without falling myself, and then look with shame as I see my dad slowly lumber out of the car and get help him up. And this is how this story would have ended had I not had my friend Jack in the car, a trained wilderness EMT who started guiding me. Okay, well, first we're going to turn left, and then we're going to turn right into this parking lot. It's very close to where the guy had fallen. And there's really no out at this point for me. And so I pull into the parking lot, and this couple in this other car also pull into the parking lot. And now there are two jobs. One, the job I want, which is to call the ambulance. And the other, the job I do not want, which is to help this guy be with him. And the other girl pulls out her cell phone. And it's over for me. And so Jack, like someone who knows what to do, gets down with the guy, keep him calm, ask him questions, right? What's your name? Do you know where you are? Things like that. And the guy is not doing very well at these questions, and I am backing away from him. There, near the parking lot, I am standing on the sidewalk closer to the street. And the guy is sort of dazed, and I don't know if he's maybe on drugs, or maybe he's just in shock. Maybe he hit his head pretty hard, but he's kind of slow moving, and then snap, he's not. And with this sort of fierce look in his eyes, he starts running toward the street, toward the traffic that's right just feet away from all of us. And moments like that happen so fast that there's no time for your logical brain to process information. Because had my logical brain had a second, it would have said, he's bigger than you and he is running into traffic. Get out of the way. But there's this instinct that rose within me and said, you have to stop him. You have to get between him and the road. And so I shifted and positioned my body between him and the road. And I just locked my feet and I stared into him. Like, you are going to make eye contact with me and you are going to know to stop moving. Please stop moving. And his eyes meet mine, and it was like magic. Out of nowhere, he was sprinting, and then he was stopped. And we were there, almost touching, just stopped, staring into each other. And then my logical brain catches up and says, okay, now he's right next to you, and you're both still really close to the street, and so what you need to do is sit down. And so without saying anything, I just slowly lowered my body down to the ground, and as I shifted, he shifted too. And then we were just sitting cross-legged opposite one another with our knees touching, just looking at each other. And I heard the ambulance, the noise of the ambulance getting closer and louder and closer. And he said to me, I don't have insurance. I don't know what to do. And I said, we'll figure it out. It's going to be okay. And as the ambulance arrived, he tried to reach out and give me a hug. He was so thankful, and I could tell he couldn't do it because his shoulder was very injured. And so I reached out and hugged him, and then I went to find the driver of the ambulance, and I said, you have to take him to Denver Health. If you don't know, Denver Health is very compassionate in the way that they charge people who don't have insurance for things like emergency room visits. And the guy who was driving the ambulance said, "What's his name? How do you know him?" And I said, "We don't. We were just driving by." And he looks at me and he says, "We're supposed to take them to the hospital that's closest, but I'll do my best." And he nodded at me. And it was this nod of knowing that I had never received before. Like, I see you. You're one of us. You're one of those people who runs toward the people who need help. Thank you.